Nick of Time show. Go check out that show. It's a great show. It's a great show.
New York, New York, big city of dreams. New York, New York, big city of dreams.
Knit fans, KOT family, it's your boy the Latin assassin, Lee Escobedo, and the one and only Mod God Fifth Beatle, Fritz Alessandor, host of the NBA Economy Show. We are here today because of the obvious. If you have friends, family not tuned in right now, send them a text. Hit them in the DMs, say tune into the KOT Show. Spread this, retweet this on Twitter because it's time to have a conversation about Giannis coming to New York. Ian Begley has officially, the GOAT has confirmed the New York Knicks will be submitting an aggressive trade offer to Milwaukee for Giannis, as well as other teams such as Orlando, Portland, and Miami, as well as I'm sure the Lakers will probably try to do some bottom feeder deal as well because they're always involved in superstar trades. But right now, the only one we care about, the only one we're concerned with is him coming to New York to bring us home that coveted, long-awaited drought championship. So I had to bring the man with the actual analytics, the man with the financial stats, the smartest mind financially in the NBA streets. Fritz Alessandor, how you feeling, my brother?
Doing good. This is the time all year. Everybody's been given their hypotheticals, been given their wild trades, but now this is the time to get real.
Listen, man, it's just me and Fritz here, so we're about to go wild on the KOT Show. I'm about to jump all the way out the window. I'm not holding back on my feelings. I'm not going to mince words on what I think needs to happen. So again, if your friends and family are not in this room right now, tell them to get in here right now because we are discussing the most important thing to happen in the last, 50 plus years, which is Giannis Antetokounmpo coming to the New York Knicks wearing the orange and blue and bringing us a championship. Now, of course, this has not happened yet. But all roads, starting from Shams to the New York Post, to the New York Daily News, ESPN, are all signaling that Giannis is now going to be asking out, or whether he's asking or not, saying and signaling to the Milwaukee organization he is ready to be moved. And Milwaukee seems to be finally accepting the truth of their situation to move Giannis and try to get some type of compensation, probably a historic haul, or at least a historic haul overall. It might not convey right away. I think the pieces they get will eventually be able to be flipped for one hell of a package for what is considered Giannis, a top 10 player in the NBA, someone who won a championship already as a first option with no other superstar on his roster with the Milwaukee Bucks in 2021, and someone who would become instantly not just the best player on this New York Knicks team, but the best player in franchise history. Yeah, I remember y'all bums in the chat last night telling me I was being hyperbolic. That is not hyperbole. Giannis is better than Patrick Ewing. Giannis is better than Walt Clyde Frazier. Giannis is better than Willis Reed. Giannis is better than Carmelo Anthony. And Giannis is better than Jalen Brunson. So he would be the greatest Knick of all time. Any other name, Allen Houston, Bernard King, any other name you want to throw out there, he's better than them too. He would instantly be the best Knick player of all time and the first option on this Knicks team while still having the best closer in the game as your second option. Ooh, buddy, let's talk about it. Fritz Alessandor, you and I have been discussing the idea of Giannis for quite some time now, ever since it was kind of the rumors started rumbling this past summer where the Knicks were revealed to have given a trade package that was rejected by Milwaukee. I've heard some speculation on what those pieces were. I'm not going to delve too much into that because it's all hearsay until it's been proven, and Ian hasn't said it. So until he does, to me, it's just rumor and speculation. But I want to hear just your initial non-number thoughts. What do you think about the prospect of Giannis coming to New York?
This is the New York fan dream. This is the years of top players always saying, "Hey, New York is on my list." We've always been on everybody's list. We are the person they put in the trade just to up the number. And finally, Giannis looks like he's real. There's no other team that he looks to be angling to up the number. New York is willing to give him that extension whenever we're able to give it. So this is kind of the dream. You just have to wonder how expensive is that dream.
You talked about dream. Since James Dolan took over the Knicks, there have been two specific ones that have continued to haunt Knicks fans for decades now. The first happened in 2010 when Donnie Walsh was tasked with clearing cap space to be able to sign 2 or potentially 3 guys in the summer of 2010 and create a big 3 that would finally bring a championship home. At that time was even still a multiple decade long drought in New York for a championship. The Knicks fans were like, oh my God, we're done to LeBron James, we're done to Dwayne Wade, and we're done to Carmelo Anthony, or some combination of the last. We ended up getting Amari Stoudemire and eventually trading the entire house, all of our picks and young players, for Carmelo Anthony. Now, that leads into 2019, which is the second time that we've been this hype. That one was, oh my God, we're done to Kyrie Irving, we're done to Kevin Durant, and we're done to draft Zion Williamson. It was always throwing a bunch of names together, hoping it works, and then have to deal with the aftermath of failure and look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, are you putting on a clown makeup? Here we go again. This is why this is different for 2 main reasons. One, the team is already in place. You are not scraping the bottom of the barrel with expiring contracts, rookie scale deals, and vets who are past their prime, hoping that a superstar can come and make a bottom feeder into a contender. We are already a championship contender. Championship contender does not mean you're going to win the championship. It means you can contend for it. We are one of 4 or 5 teams in NBA that can contend for it. So unlike 2010 and unlike 2019, when the roster was absolute ass, the roster right now is 3rd in the East. So you're adding Giannis to that, to a roster that would still retain Jalen Brunson, right now a starter for the East, a potential top 3-point guard in the entire NBA. As the second option, last year's Clutch Player of the Year award, as the second option, things are totally different. Reason number 2, and Fritz, I've been saying this for about, since I joined the KOT pod. What makes Leon Rose different in any trade, and why I continue to trust him, even when I give him an F for this season and how he's ran things, is because name any player in the James Dolan era the Knicks have went after, and who was the agent? Andre Bargnani, Leon Rose. Eddie Curry, Leon Rose. Ronaldo Balkman, Leon Rose. Carmelo Anthony, Leon Rose. Every player of consequence that the Knicks went all in for or whiffed on was managed by the agent, Leon Rose, and CAA. He has had firsthand negotiation point of view in the room with only Dolan and the player and him, having conversations and seeing how Dolan operates and seeing how Dolan pushes too many chips into the pot in the middle of a table, how Dolan walks into conversations and says, you know what, GM, Donnie Walsh, you're not in charge, I am. Steve Mills, you're not in charge, I am, and ruins it by either offering too much or not enough. Now Leon Rose is in charge with all of that info and hindsight and that data and that understanding and that context. I have faith that he will not continue the errors of the ways that he was firsthand witness to. Does Leon Rose, Fritz Alessander, does him being the president of basketball operations give you any more or less confidence in the Knicks pulling off a deal for Giannis, and why?
Well, everybody knows he's serious about his business. Probably a couple years ago, we didn't know what to expect from Leon Rose, and Cleveland Cavaliers found out. Cleveland Cavaliers tried to get New York for everything is worth. And when he said, "Hey, this is my last offer. This is my best offer," that was it. And Cleveland was relegated to the best deal they had on the table. And I think other GMs know what's going to happen. When Leon Rose comes to the table for Giannis, he is serious, and they are not going to push New York around to give up more than they're willing to give.
Oh my God! Breaking news. Hold your blood pressure. Hold your blood pressure. It's KOT breaking news, not ESPN breaking news. We got a Phil Porto bomb because we got my main man, Phil in the house. What's up, Phil, baby?
Hey,
What up?
what's
What up?
Phil?
What up? I figured I'd sneak on in. I saw the two of y'all killing it, and I was like, all right, this is too important of a topic to at least not pop in for a few minutes and chop it up with you guys.
I am so happy to have you here, Phil, because it's worth celebrating you and I being on the same page for a major move and what we should do. I gotta have my man Phil Porto on the panel again. Audience, if you have friends and family, they're not in the chat right now, retweet, share, hit them in the DMs. Get your people, friends, and family in here. We are having a family meeting, family business about the Knicks potentially acquiring Giannis. Phil, how you feeling?
Man, honestly, I'm ecstatic. Like, I was talking to you guys in the chat earlier, and last night and waking up to photos of what I saw, as much as we would hope that we are contenders, we want to say that as Knicks fans, we want to say we can get a chip this year. We can get a chip this year. I think to have that same mindset that we had on paper in the offseason to what we've seen through the month of January to now, like, oh man, to be able to say that with the same amount of confidence, I think would be foolishness, like blind foolishness as a Knicks fan, because what we hoped for going into the season is not what we've seen. That month of January was rough to watch. And I'm not one of those guys that like, I can't get past the past and celebrate the now. But we were even talking about that Sacramento win last night. Like, yes, in the fourth quarter, we put it on, and we put them away. We saw some daggers thrown towards the end. But the fact that without Zach LaVine, 3 quarters were back-to-back throwing punches with a Zach LaVine-ish, Zach LaVine-less 20-plus point player in their starting lineup, it should have never been that close that the fourth quarter had to be our quarter. Like, it should have been a similar situation to the Nets game, but it wasn't. It wasn't similar to the Nets game. Shout out to my big brother, just showed up in the building and said, what up, people in the chat. So for me, they're still concerned, even though we had that win, because we should have had that win by a lot more. We should have looked a lot better than we did in 3 quarters. And if they are in the bottom of their division and we're still going blow for blow with them, I don't see how that's going to help us come playoff time against these teams that are leaps and bounds better. Like, I just don't see it. So when I see the photos of Cat wrestling to post up Russell Westbrook, where he's got that ouchies, this hurts, like face in all the pictures that we've seen since Minnesota when he would go up against the Cousins and, any other, big against AD. Now he's doing that against Russ, who's a guard. It just doesn't show any promise of what it could be. So you start speaking Giannis and you start speaking my language. All of a sudden, Phil is fluent in Greek, and like, I'm gonna start doing my Bible studies in Greek from now on. But I'm a huge fan of it because, like Lee said, so many times past, we've robbed ourselves of everything for a big name instead of having a foundation and now being wise enough to say, okay, we can make changes where this foundation still thrives and we build on it. Him and JB together are so much better than anybody else and JB that we have on the schedule on the roster right now. So trade it. And I know some people are going to hate to hear this. In my opinion, bringing in Greek Freak where he's not a liability anymore also gives us freedom to do what we need to do, which is give Mitch the bag and show him that we want him, which is priority number uno. If you see what he's done in the minutes that he's played over the last, while we sucked, he still was thriving. Like, our team sucked, Mitch still showed up. So give him his bag. And if we need to, now that our center's not a liability, we can move McHale for another piece that can be, a sharpshooter from 3. Give us that person that Greek Freak and JB can dish out to, because now you have 2 of the biggest threats from a guard to a forward/center in driving to the paint. that are always going to draw 2 or 3 defenders. Now you need a sharpshooter that's going to shoot. And Mikal can, but when you're going 9 for 10 and you refuse to shoot more than 10 shots, that's an issue. We need to get someone that's going to keep unloading the clip with Jordan Clarkson type's confidence, but Mikal's type efficiency. So that's my rant on the Giannis news.
Ooh, my boy Phil Porto cooking. I hope you cut that clip up as for motion for yourself in the KOT show, because my boy Phil, man. Phil, that's one of your best monologues I've ever heard. I've been listening to you for years. You outdid yourself there, brother. And you made some very bold
One
claims.
last thing. I forgot to show. This was like one of the coolest things I saw online today. When it comes to, Knicks fandom and stuff like that.
Hey, yo!
I was doing some research on what Tibbs has been up to these days, and they just said he's enjoying retirement, hanging out with his best friend, the Latin assassin. And so I had to share the photo because it moved me. Like, it really hit my heart. So shout out to Tibbs and Lee hanging out.
You know what's hilarious about that? I think if Tibbs did see me and he heard any of my rants on the KOT show, he would absolutely strangle me because I dragged in multiple episodes, not just here, but also on SNY, bro. Listen, there was a long time I was a number one Tibbs hater, but eventually I saw the light. I will say, though, man, listen, he deserved to be fired.
Yeah.
I just don't like the Mike Brown hire. So the way I see it, I share the sentiment of you guys as well. I think Giannis is so good, he got Budenholzer a title. He didn't get Mike Brown a title, too. The coach matters less when Giannis is your best player and Brunson's your number 2. You can win a chip with Mike Brown. In fact, if we got Giannis, I would worry so much less about Brown's late game execution or rotations because you got 2 of the best players, best closers in NBA history on your squad.
But you also think about the fact that it only takes like 3 steps for Giannis to get from one side of the court to the other. That helps with a fast-paced transition. You look at Josh Hart grabbing a rebound and having the ability to throw it to Giannis, like that's a game changer right there.
100%. All right. Let's talk about some uncomfortable truths. I think Phil has probably been, this is surprising. If you guys know the KOT show, Phil and I, we butt heads on some of the takes because we're family. I think you and I, Phil, are the only ones who have said defiantly, we are 100% out on this team being a championship winner because of a defense, the defensive compromise of Cat and Jalen Brunson. Is that true?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, a lot of people, I mean, and we're both super, I would say you and I both lean more toward optimist than negative Knicks Twitter or, Knicks nihilism. I think you and I tend to be the ones that jump out the window and think we're going to win a chip. But what we've seen the last season under Tibbs and half a season under Mike Brown, I've walked away this season now saying this team cannot win a chip. Because you are constantly compromised at all times with one of those guys on the floor and super compromised when both are on the floor, but that's also your best lineup. Are those 2 guys sharing the floor? So I want to get Fritz. Fritz, you've been watching a lot of the hoops, and you have some very strong takes on who you think on this roster needs to be, how the roster need to be retooled. You've always felt like this roster wasn't completely finished, and you thought a move was going to happen that would help solidify and equal out the rotation. For what you've seen this season, do you think the New York Knicks is currently constructed to win a championship?
No, I think I don't think it's quite set up for the future. I don't think it's great for this year either. When we face adversity, it doesn't look good. Like, we don't have a lot of guys who will run toward the fire outside of Jalen Brunson. Like, when things get tough, Jalen Brunson wants to take over. Outside of that, everyone kind of folds. So you kind of need someone else who can run into the fire as well. And Giannis is definitely one of those players. Like, if it starts going down, you start seeing Giannis calls to the ball. Like, if things get bad, Giannis calls for the ball. Giannis makes sure he gets that bucket. You need more than one guy to make that happen. Jalen Brunson playoff performances have been unreal. You need another guy, though. And I don't know too many other guys who are available or you can even speculate are going to be available in any time soon.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is to Lee's point, what he was saying, what made me and I think Lee kind of go, okay, we got to think realistically here, not as a Knick fan, but as like, what are we seeing? You know, because it's delusional to not allow your take to evolve as the season changes. Like it's delusional. Like if I was saying, well, I thought in the summer, so it's got to be that way. Like, no, things have changed. Like, I'm sorry. If you look at Cat has taken a step back. Like, he just has. Like, his offensive fouls that we hoped would get better over time are getting worse. Like, he's being benched in fourth quarters now. Like, that's how much of a liability he's been. And at times, we would keep him out there because his offensive prowess was still beneficial to us. But now, not even that's beneficial to us. I think last night was the first time that we've seen him hit multiple threes and a half in how long? Like, it's been a struggle. The greatest shooting big man in the league has not been the greatest shooting big man this season. Like, he just hasn't. He's been a liability in a lot of areas. And Jalen Brunson minutes where he's not on the floor, we suffer. Like, and it shouldn't be that way. Like, look at the other teams around us. The fact that Jason Tatum can go down for this far in the season, and the Celtics, after trading some of their championship pieces, have still found a way to be number 2 in the standings above us. That's a team that, even without their number 1, still found a way. We have not been able to do that. None of our guys have been consistent. You've had maybe a game or two where you're like, oh, Mikal came through or OG came through. But very rarely do we see that it's time and time again. So no other team in actual contention right now is having that issue that we are. Like, if Jalen Brunson's out for a few games, we have an issue. You look at every other team, OKC, okay, shake and go down. They have people that are going to, step up, have some astronomical games in his absence. Wembanyama, he's playing limited minutes still, and now you have guys like Vassell and Castle that are all of a sudden playing incredible seasons alongside of him and making that team better. Denver, same thing. Like, then you go to the East, Cleveland, like anybody, Toronto, everybody's been able to hold their own when their number 1 has a bad game. But when our number 1 has a bad game, we don't have anyone to the rescue. And so making JB not that number 1 and making Giannis that number 1, that's crazy. Like, that changes everything. I said this in the beginning of the season, and I want to find the clip because I was crucified for it. When I first said the Towns trade, I said, if we go up against teams like OKC or the Spurs with Cat as our number 2 option, they're going to beat us. Because Cat is not aggressive enough or reliable enough. And he's proven that all season.
Phil Porto, brother, you are absolutely cooking. Listen, if y'all don't follow Phil on Twitter, Knicks_nightcap, go follow my man Phil Porto. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to KOT Show, and make sure you tune in to the Knicks Nightcap, where my main man Phil Porto, my primo, is the host, along with Al from Harlem and Guard Up Knicks. Excellent analysis, also really great chemistry and just overall vibes. If you like vibes along with your analysis, there's nothing better than the KOT Show, because here, with all the members we got, there's a personality for everybody. There's someone for you, and there's someone for you to love. You know what I'm saying? So there's plenty of these guys you can love, and I'm more than happy to be the punching bag for y'all haters that need someone to let out your frustrations. Now, talk about the conversation about Karl-Anthony Towns. This is going to hurt some people's feelings. I am all the way out on Karl-Anthony Towns on the Knicks, and I am all the way out on Mikal Bridges on the Knicks. I do not care what we paid for them. I don't care about getting rid of Dante DiVincenzo or Randall or the 5 picks. That reality does not inform my feelings. I never tweet about it. I don't talk about it. I don't care. That is in the past, and it's done. What I look at right now is those are the 2 guys that, to me, are holding us back the most. I can live with OG Anunoby's inconsistency on offense because he's so consistent defensively. I can live with Jalen Brunson as a cone on defense because he's one of the best bad-for-bad scorers in the NBA. I can live with Josh Hart being undersized and up and down on defense because he's one of the most unique players in NBA history. But what Mikal Bridges is supposed to be, and what Karl-Anthony Towns is supposed to be is our second and third options. And as second and third options, to me, they have not looked championship level at all on either end of the ball. To be paying Karl-Anthony Towns $53 million, knowing he's a cone on defense, you accept that. But then watching him be a fourth option on offense, unacceptable. Watching Mikal Bridges average 1 free throw attempt a game, unacceptable. Watching Mikal Bridges avoid contact and driving the rim every single game, unacceptable. It's time for us to go out and get a dog. Enough beating around the bush. Enough trying to mitigate with ancillary rotation players. Enough trying to bring in PJ Tucker at the end of the bench to be a dog. We need our best player to be a dog. That is Giannis. And we need another dog to come in behind him. And this is where I want to bring in the conversation about Jrue Holiday. I've been saying two things all season on the KOT show. One, Giannis is coming to New York, bar none, whether we win a chip or not by the summer, based on the reports I've been hearing on other media members that are deeply connected within the NBA and been reporting for over a decade. I heard that and said it back in last summer. I also said on the show last night about Jrue Holiday, if you want Giannis, you better also be okay with Jrue Holiday coming too, because those two want to play together, they want to be reunited, and they want to win another chip together in New York specifically. Listen, that's a great, beautiful place to be. But I've got a lot of pushback in the chat, on Twitter, even on the KOT panel, about the plausibility of Jrue Holiday on the Knicks. I want to hear, before I go on my monologue, first from Fritz and then from Phil. How do y'all feel about the idea of not just getting Giannis, but getting Jrue Holiday? And y'all in the chat, make sure you share his tab and tell all your friends and family to get in here, because we're having a family meeting on Giannis. Fritz, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Jrue Holiday isn't a superstar. He's just a super solid player. But it's nothing to get excited about. The one thing about Jrue Holiday, he's not going to hurt you. There's a lot of players in the NBA. They could drop 30 every night. You have your Jordan Pooles of the league, drop 30 any night, but he'll hurt you. I think the one thing about Jrue Holiday is he's just kind of solid at everything. He could play kind of point guard. He's kind of the guy who fills in a lot of holes for the team. So in that respect, I like Jrue Holiday. Not excited, but if that's what Giannis wants, that's what Giannis gets.
Well said, Fritz. Phil Porto, the floor is yours. Make your case or not for Jrue Holiday.
Yeah, so I'm going to say the opposite of Fritz. I actually think it is something to write home about. And I have valid reason. Who on this New York Knicks squad has experience making it to the finals? No one.
OG.
He didn't play though.
But he wasn't playing.
Yeah, he wasn't playing. Yeah,
he wasn't playing. Like, he sat there. I mean, who actually played for a finals series?
Nobody.
Who's got championship DNA that has actually won a title? Nobody. So what you do in bringing Giannis, I think this answers the question that people were asking. Like, how does it destroy the chemistry? Well, no, you're not destroying the chemistry, because you're also bringing in at least someone familiar with Giannis and how Giannis plays. So now you have someone who, as a guard, understands how playing alongside Giannis works. Able to speak that kind of stuff in a leadership capacity, not as I'm a better than you player, but I have some championship experience working with Giannis. So he's able to use his knowledge and insight to speak that with Jalen Brunson as Jalen Brunson's running the guard. Like, hey, this is how we do things. This is how Giannis works best. Okay, now you have that experience. You have the experience of them two working together, and it makes it a little less uncomfortable for Giannis to come in and be the out guy, like the sore thumb where it's me against everybody. Like, how do I? No, it's okay, let's figure this all out together. We're all going to be able to speak into this. You also look at the stats, okay? With Jrue Holiday right now, he is averaging 16 points per game, 8.3 assists per game, and 5.3 rebounds per game. That right there, he's already has more assists, more points, and more rebounds than Mikal is per game. Like, you don't think of that because we gave up so many picks and we thought that Mikal was going to be this consistent guy. But Jrue Holiday brings that on like straight up defense that we need, that dog mentality. But it also does what I said on the nightcap the other day. We needed to find a guard that was defensively as good as one of our forwards, because putting all of our defense in a wing stop position when they have to already like help Cat, who's a defensive liability, now they also have to help the guards because we don't have, you know, great defense there. So you have our wings never in a place that you want your wing to be. They're always either guarding the guard, helping out Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart or whoever's up there, or they're helping out Cat. Now you have OG still holding it down at the wing position, but then you have Jrue Holiday able to be up there with Jalen Brunson. So he can help Jalen in those top of the key type of possessions when guards are shooting lights out 3-pointers against us, which we are atrocious at defending. So I think instead of now Mikal having to run to the 3-point line every single time with his arm that's long but still not quick enough to get there, now you have a defensive guard that can actually help that load right there. So to me, I think it spaces it out really, really well. And then you look to move, you know, some of the excess bench pieces for somebody that can come in off the bench. And I think we have something really, really solid. I think Jrue Holiday is one of those pieces that doesn't need what Mikal needs. Like, he doesn't need the constant assertive, like confidence boosting morale talk to be a player that leaves it all on the court. Like, he just does that. That's his DNA. Mikal shows up every game health-wise, but he doesn't show up every game performance-wise. Jrue Holiday shows up every time he's on the court. Jrue Holiday leaves everything out there from every single team he's been on. And so I think Jrue Holiday is a great piece, in my opinion.
Especially
Also-
if you're trying to win a championship.
Yep.
Right? He's won two championships with two different teams, which shows he's one of the best players. And I talk about this a lot, at impacting winning. I want players that impact winning. I want championship level players. That's why I like Mitch. That's why I like Deuce. That's why I like OG. It's why I don't like some of the players that I'm not listing, because they don't impact winning. Scott Perry always talked about that, especially when he left the Knicks and he was doing ESPN. He always thought about players, not in terms of raw stats or even advanced analytics, but he looked at what is their impact on winning. When they join a team, do they go on win streaks? Does their on-off numbers go up? Do they make the playoffs all of a sudden? Those are the type of players that you target for giving draft cachet or young pieces in the deal to acquire. And it's absolutely, without argument, that Giannis impacts winning. I would put the same category for Jrue Holiday as well. And Phil said it. He is someone that doesn't need any plays ran for him. He doesn't need any extra offense accommodated to him. He doesn't need his role etched in stone as a third option or the fourth option. And most importantly, when Jalen Brunson sits, the offense doesn't just stay the same. It can actually improve, because the ball would start moving with more fluidity. Jrue will get off the rock. He'll make sure the ball is passed without giving up point of attack defense. This is why I hate when Kolek was in the backup point guard position. No offensive predicate, but you had 48 minutes of compromised defense at the point of attack. That is untenable for a championship level team. You can't win a championship with two goons at the point guard position. Now you have Jrue Holiday, who can be the point of attack defender when Brunson's in the offense, and he can be the point of attack defender when Brunson sits, paired with defense at the 4 and the 5. We go from being a middle of the pack defensive team to a top 5 NBA defense. There are lineups you can put on the floor that involve OG, Giannis, Mitch, potentially Jrue Holiday or Deuce and Bryant if he's still here, and you have the best defensive 5 in the entire NBA. These are like the possibilities and combinations actually fit Mike Brown's philosophy. You get a more Mike Brown roster and defense on this team, opposed to him having to push a square peg through a round hole and not working. And you have this situation where now you have the 18th, 19th worst defense in the NBA, where you oscillate between 19 and 14. That's not championship. We know. With one exception, Denver Nuggets, 2003. One team has won the chip and not been a top 10 defense for the entire regular season. Defense wins championships. As our man Raw Hebrew says, no defense, no bueno. You're not going to win a championship if you can't get a stop. Homies, I see y'all reposting. I see you doing wild in the chat. Keep it up. Keep the fire going. Keep resharing. Keep being in people's DMs and giving them a link. We want the whole Knit family in here. I want to be pulling up the comments, having conversations, and integrate y'all into this dialogue as well. My next question. Are there any players off limits in y'all's minds about who the Knicks should give up in order to get Giannis?
I think it's the amount. I think is the amount of pieces, not necessarily the type of players outside of Jalen Brunson. I think it's if I had to give up multiple starters and I had to give up the best of our bench, that would hurt. Like that would hurt. But if I had to give up 2 starters and the bench is mostly intact, okay. You know that after you do this trade, there's going to be holes that you have to patch up. But you don't want so many holes to be patched up that it's just impossible to put a solid 9 rotation on the floor.
Phil?
Yeah. So for me, I think the 3 that have to stay in order for us to make it worth it. We need Jalen Brunson. I know people are concerned about, the calf issue and everything like that. So I definitely think we still need to keep, we started building culture, in this direction with Jalen Brunson. I feel like it's way too big of a detour to get off of that, in his prime and Giannis's, prime, no, JB's got to be there. And for me, I think OG's got to stay because I really feel like it makes things so incredibly hard for teams to score with a OG Giannis in the paint kind of situation.
Ooh, man.
So hard. And that makes it to where we don't have to overexert Mitch because those minutes are still hard for any team trying to score in the paint. So I say OG stays and Mitch has to stay. Like this whole thing for me, part of moving on from Towns is I think Mitch deserves the bag. I think that, and you can go back to me last season, unsure if he did, because I didn't see enough. I didn't see enough with the amount of minutes he was playing. Yes, there was playoff, things that I was like, man, that's great, but I need to see more. Mitch has shown enough for me to say, give him the bag. Like he deserves it. We need those Mitch minutes. They are life changers. Like, especially when we're having a bad shooting night in the playoffs, but we need those second and third chance opportunities. We don't get those without Mitchell Robinson. So those are the 3 that I think need to stay. Honorable mention, if we can keep Josh Hart, keep Josh Hart. Because who else is going to get those, in transition moments that Josh Hart gets, or those lay your body on the altar of, Knicks basketball the way that he does. Yes, he has some pretty crappy offensive nights here or some dumb defensive stuff here as well, but you can't teach dedication and you can't teach commitment. And he's got both of those things for this New York Knicks team. So, but the 3 that are untouchable to me, and I say untouchable still very loosely because it's Giannis. So like, if at the end of the day you say, Phil, one of your 2 got to go, I'm like, okay. But in my dream world, JB's the for sure don't touch. OG is the please do not piss me off and take him. And Mitch is in that category as well.
I agree 100% with you, Phil. 100%. I agree with both of you. Because Phil, what do I always say about Mitchell Robinson?
Hashtag never trade Mitch.
Let's go. I say it for a reason, man. The man wins you games on defense, and there's maybe 4 or 5 players in the NBA that can say that, but they win playoff games on defense, and one of those is Mitchell Robinson. Imagine any lineup guarding Joker, guarding Chet Holmgren, guarding Wembanyama, and you have Giannis and Mitch to be able to throw out there in the front court, I'm not scaring nobody at that point. Nobody. There's no one that I fear on the defensive side of the ball with those two be able to hold down the fort. Go ahead, Fritz.
What I didn't say before, there is a combination of players that I do not want to see traded. Okay. I do not want to see OG and Cat traded at the same time. I think that's kind of those two together going out. I couldn't see, but I could see either one being traded. I know how. I think if Milwaukee took one of our players, I think OG would be one of the players they would demand to have. Because OG, they could put him on the roster, and then a year from now, he wouldn't be any less valuable. Even on a bad team, I think he's always going to have his worth.
Well said. What do you guys think about the other teams that are in the mix for Giannis? I've listened to some of the tea leaves, and it really feels like that it's going to come down to between us and the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat have 2 first-round picks they're able to offer right now. The Knicks have, correct me if I'm wrong, Fritz, none to offer right now beyond the Wizards. We can't offer swaps. I think Miami can also offer swaps. And I've also heard that Miami is unwilling to trade Jaime Jaquez in any deal, the same way they were unwilling to trade Khalil Ware in the Kevin Durant deal, which signals they see some pieces as untouchable on their end. I think Ware is way more untouchable than Jaime Jaquez. That's like crazy for me to hear that Jaquez is untouchable. For Giannis, anyways, that to me is the worst case scenario, is if he goes to Miami. We had to watch LeBron James signal that he's taking his talents to South Beach, while we all wanted him to say Madison Square Garden and the Big Apple and New York City. If we got to hear and see Giannis go to Miami and we get fleeced again, bro, and that team, I think, would absolutely whoop our ass. And every single time we match up with them, we would get absolutely belt to ass, dog walked by the Miami Heat if he went there and we stayed with this soft-ass team that we have in New York. They would become the playoff team. I don't think we would be able to get up over the hump on. They would scare me way more than Detroit Pistons would because of the man on the sidelines and Eric Spoelstra, who is a demon on the coaching line. I mean that not as a pejorative, but as a compliment. What do you guys think about the prospect of other teams having competing clauses to go after Giannis and the Knicks having to up their trade package to possibly get him?
Yeah. So this is where it comes down to Leon Rose, show how good you are. You know, like if you're confident enough to give up 5 picks in Mikal Bridges and you don't care about the backlash of what people think about your decision to give up 5 picks, then you better be comfortable enough in your skin and your skill sets that if that doesn't work out, you can still find a way to make this team contenders. Because at the end of the day, it's not just we get our teeth kicked in by Miami if they get Giannis. That's a given. Like, you put Giannis alongside Bam, and then you have those two in the paint, and you got Hero and, Jaquez and, freaking Norman Powell to light you up nonstop as they're, drawing the defense into the paint. We're done. I would be surprised if the series goes 6 games. Because at the end of the day, there is not a single game where we go up against a roster with Bam Adebayo and Giannis that Karl Anthony Towns doesn't see more than 22 minutes on the court before getting fouled out, whether offensively or defensively. Like, those are 2 guys that would walk all over him in the paint. And so we get destroyed by that team. But I think besides getting destroyed by that team, I also think a lot of that falls then on Leon Rose's doorstep. That in his era, we bought all in to this with a possibility of this, because we heard there were rumors this summer, if we didn't get it done in the summer and then we were going to wait to see if we could do it in the season. And then all of a sudden it goes to one of our biggest rivals for years and years to come that made them a run-of-the-mill team to now all of a sudden the top contenders in the East. That falls on Leon Rose heavy. So Leon Rose cannot be wasting time here. He needs to be creative. He needs to figure it out. And I think that's all guess. I think if Jaime Jaquez is asked for by the Milwaukee Bucks, they'll give Jaquez. Like he's not that guy, you know. So that's one team I do not want to see him go to at all, because then it is a blown season for us. And so, you know, I saw in the chats people are like, "Oh, Milwaukee's going to want OG." That once again, that comes to Leon Rose. How creative are you going to get? Like, if we're giving up Towns and OG, you better be getting something that still keeps us contenders in return. Whether that's bringing in another team and making it worth it for us, or you need to be grabbing Ryan Rollins, Portis, and this person and that person, where our, you know, bench and our starting lineup are now, you know, bolstered to be contenders. So I think it all falls on Leon, but Miami's the last place I need him to go.
Fritz?
Yeah, Miami is definitely worst case scenario is Miami. Miami could push all their chips to the table and they'll still be okay. Because the reason is Miami drafts well. Since Miami drafts so well, even if they don't have a lot left, they don't need much to replenish, because they've shown they could take second round picks and make them usable players. That's something that we haven't shown as you know, to that level. So Miami is definitely the team you don't want them going to, no matter if the cupboards are bare after they make the trade.
Hot take alert. Listen, cover your ears, trigger warning. I might offend some people. I don't even give a damn. All right. Also, since I'm going to offend some people, bring in the people that you like the least, tell them to join the show, because I want to offend them most of all. If Mike Brown is fired this summer for either not making the finals, because James Dolan said he expects his team to make the finals, that is the standard. Make the finals. He also said, and win. That's a lot of pressure on Mike Brown. No doubt. We all know that. If he doesn't make the finals, or God forbid he misses the ECF with or without Giannis, and Mike Brown is fired, Leon Rose got to go too. Leon Rose should not have the ability to hire 3 coaches with one of them being fired in year 1. That is a unmitigated disaster. We thank him for the same way we thank Tibbs. Thank you for setting the table. Thank you for getting us out of the muck. Thank you for dragging us out of poverty. Thank you for turning us into a contender. But now we need an upgrade. The same vision and perspective we had on upgrading from Tibbs, we must have an upgrading from Leon Rose. It doesn't mean Leon Rose sucks. Doesn't mean he's a bum. Doesn't mean that he's Isaiah Thomas or Phil Jackson or Steve Mills or Glenn Grunwald. None of those guys. He's above all of them. All right? But it means you have to upgrade. And in my opinion, this Giannis deal is his legacy in New York. Yeah. That's what I am building toward this statement. Everything that he is about, and Phil hinted this in his monologue too. So again, we're doing the whole show, me and Phil agreeing. Listen, don't get a lottery ticket, because today is y'all's lucky day. Me and Phil are in sync. If Leon Rose botches this, okay, and botch can mean a lot of different things. It means he loses out. It means he loses out to the Miami Heat. It means that he gets Giannis, but he gives up 3 starters, including OG. It means that he gives up all young players and draft capital ad nauseum that we have henceforth. There's a lot of ways he could fail. There's 1 or 2 ways he needs to see it. I feel like Dr. Strange in Endgame. It's like, listen, bro, this is up to you to pull this off, because the reason you were hired were the star connections. James Dolan thought you would bring a star to New York. You found a star. You unearthed a star in Jalen Brunson, but you have yet to bring a star to New York. I'm not taking anything away from Jalen Brunson, all right? He is a superstar, no doubt. But the idea of free agent and trade ability is why Leon was brought in with Worldwide West, because of that acumen, those relationships, that ability behind back doors to make things happen and make seismic moves in the NBA. Brother, it's your time. You are on the clock. I want to see Giannis in orange and blue ASAP. Bring that man to New York and let him be around his Greek community and bring that chip to all of our hands.
And go for it. Go.
No. When the hiring happened, you remember Worldwide West was overly excited when that hire happened. He went on High 97, and what did he say? He said, "Hey, we're bringing stars to New York." He brought Jalen Brunson on the cheap, but there has been no point where he's taken one of the top players in the whole world and put him on the New York Knicks. And I think this is end game. Like when you say, hey, when I put my resume out there and I said, oh, I'm going to do what I want to do. This is that last check mark. Besides the championship, this is that check mark where you said, hey, I said I was going to bring stars to New York. This is the time. He passed up on KD this summer. KD said he wanted to come to New York. New York had what Phoenix wanted. He passed up on it. So if you said you're going to bring stars to New York, how? And what can I do to make it happen?
Phil, you got Leon on the phone?
I'll be right back. Hold up.
Breaking news by Phil. Listen, I see haters in the chat too saying shiny things, same old Knicks fans. Listen, brother, we're fans. Fan. You know what word fan is a part of? Fantasize. We're fantasizing about the best case scenario for the team that we all love. If you want to engage. If you don't, you can see the door. There's plenty of people in here. We got damn near 500 people in the chat having a good time, thinking about what the Knicks can do with Giannis. We are dreamers. All we have known, us millennial Knicks fans, is poverty. The most poverty of poverty. Phil Jackson, Isaiah Thomas, most teams have one of those guys. We lived through two of those guys. You can even say three of those guys if you mention Steve Mills. We are now in an era where we have Jalen Brunson as the head of the snake. And you know what? It's not enough. And sometimes you got to have a cold eye, sober moment to look at your team and say, we must get better. This is that moment. And it looks like by Ian Begley saying the Knicks are going to be not kind of interested, not mildly interested, aggressive in acquiring Giannis and putting a package forward. Leon feels the same way. So the fan base and Leon are on the same page in that. We're going to go get that superstar. But as I said in my opening monologue, it's different because every fleece in the past, from Eddie Curry to Bargnani's bum ass to even and most importantly, Carmelo Anthony, Leon was in those rooms and saw how James Dolan negotiated, saw how Dolan overcompensated, saw how Dolan got fleeced. So if he gets fleeced, Leon Rose, he's the most bum-ass imposter in NBA history because you were there and you didn't learn from your mistakes. But I think Leon Zidane is smarter than that. I do. I believe it. How can I not? Look at what we've seen so far and what he's reaped from the Knicks. Took over a team with Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock starting to the Eastern Conference Finals. Do you not believe? If you don't believe, get out. Because in this room, right here, with my friends, we believe in the Knicks. We believe in Leon Rose, and we believe that we have the potential to get Giannis in orange and blue. Just in time, I finished my rant. Phil, so what did Leon Rose say, Phil? Tell me.
So, yeah, I was talking to Leon. I gave him the take I was about to give to you guys. I was pretty much telling him, at the end of the day, if he gets this trade done, brings in Giannis, there's a grace period for him that isn't there otherwise. Like, if we get Giannis and it looks like we're a contending team, but we don't bring home a chip this year because it was still, learning some kinks out and this, that, whatever. But you saw the drastic change from January to what this New York Knicks team can be. I think there's grace. And you see Leon coach own another year. Like, I still think you see him manage, in the upcoming year. I think if we do not make this trade and we end up not getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that his scapegoats options are gone. They're limited. Because these are roster moves that he made. And we were excited for them because we were told that due diligence went in, that this roster would work. And like I said, few episodes ago, an unsolid foundation is an unsolid foundation no matter what. You can try to build on an unsolid foundation all you want. It doesn't matter how glamorous the doors are. Doesn't matter how glamorous the windows are. If the blueprint was not scheduled to work with that foundation, it's going to show. And it started to show. And this is why Mike Brown can't be the sole scapegoat for Leon Rose because all of the players were chosen for his roster before he even had a job as a New York Knick. So you bring all of these players in and you look at their skill sets, okay? Not a defender in Towns, not a defender in JB. Okay, we want to be a defensively strong team that because of our defense, we're then able to move fast in transition. Well, we don't have those two guys as solid defenders. So that's already not building on the same foundation that what Mike Brown is telling you he wants his team to be. Like, you want a guy that's super fast. You signed Yabusele that doesn't look like the word fast comes out of his mouth fast. You know, you can't. And you got Towns, who Clyde Walt Frazier on multiple podcasts, multiple announcing has now said, where's Cat? Where's Cat? Why are they already 2 or 3 shots in on the other end before Cat even crosses half court? Cool. So this is where I say an unsolid foundation being continued to be built on and just expecting it to work doesn't work. And Leon Rose is now seeing that. You bring in a fast coach, a new way of basketball, but you didn't do anything to secure any of those pieces, it's going to be an issue. And so I think Giannis is his only hope to salvaging the season and his reputation. Leon's calling again. I'll be right back.
Fritz, is Leon Rose's reputation and legacy on the line with this trade?
Yeah. I don't think there's another opportunity for him to bring a star to New York in the next year. And he may not have another year. I think his legacy is on the line. I don't think he's in danger of being fired this year. But I think his legacy, we're waiting on it. I've been waiting on what the promise that he had when he was hired. And he wasn't hired just a year or two ago. It's been 5 years. Like this isn't a quick build, Knicks team. Like he's taking his time. Like this isn't overnight. So where is it?
Now, I think what he has done is harder. Finding a Jalen Brunson, knowing that there's star potential, getting him for a cheap deal, and then bringing him to a coach that's able to unlock. Because Tibbs, give him credit, he was able to unlock Jalen Brunson that maybe other coaches weren't thus far. It's hard to criticize either Rick Carlisle or Jason Kidd because you're playing at Toluca. So it's hard with the options and the on-ball. You see how much on-ball Brunson has to be Brunson, right? So he wasn't going to get that in Dallas. But Tibbs saw it and unlocked him Derrick Rose style and turned him into what he is now, which is a superstar. That is so incredibly hard to do, which gives me even more faith that he can have a trade to bring in another superstar in Giannis and the Antetokounmpo. And think about, brothers, what Jalen Brunson would be as a number 2 option. I'm about to make that super hot take. Y'all want me to be hyperbolic? Let's get hyperbolic. Jalen Brunson would be the 4th best second option of the last quarter century. Since 2000, he would be the 4th after Kobe to Shaq, after Wade to LeBron, and after Curry or KD, depending on how you see it, to the other. That would be the 4th best number 2 guy. And an unbelievable closer, the reigning clutch player of the year, a top 5 scorer in the NBA, the deepest bag in the NBA concerning footwork, counters, and pump fakes in Brunson. You're pairing that with a guy who has already showed you he can win a chip as a first option in Milwaukee. Brethren, beloved, the chip would be incoming. It is not a matter of if, it would be a matter of when. With those two, health always plays a part. Luck always plays a part. Double blessings, prayers up, always play a part. God the merciful always plays a part. But the talent is what gets you the chip. To have Giannis and Brunson is a 1-2 punch no team in the current NBA can counter with better odds or better talent across the court. So I look at that and I say, this is not an all-in trade for a 37-year-old Durant. This is not an all-in trade for PG. Not an all-in trade for, damn, I'm going to say it, Carmelo Anthony. This is a top 5 player in the NBA right now and a potential top 10 player in NBA history. He's already won a ring. He's not coming to New York to win his first. He's already won one, damn it. He's here for number 2, maybe number 3. You don't need to move like that? Don't be driven by fear, okay? Scared money don't make money. You go all in on Giannis. Brothers, is Jalen Brunson, would he be the best number 2 option in the NBA if Giannis came to New York?
Yeah. You know what? One thing I want to say is very rarely in history do I look at number 1s that were only like when they were number 1s, not now. Like LeBron's different now than he was earlier, but that were solely really, really gifted on one side of the ball. Like, to be honest, like you look at most actual number 1s that have, been considered legendary careers, they at least are good on both ends of the court, and they have somebody else that brings something else out of them. And I think that with Giannis there, this makes Jalen Brunson better, in my opinion. Because so many people are like, they're so ball dominant. Well, you're ball dominant when you don't have a reason to not be ball dominant. Like, at the end of the day, like, can he switch it up a little bit? Yes. But as long as he's the number 1, why would he see that he should be less ball dominant? If he's the number 2 with a player like Greek Freak, he's going to be willing and able to distribute the ball and trust in who that number 1 is on the roster. He has not had to do that as of yet. And I'm sorry, time and time again, the people that we've had as that have shown inconsistent. There were very many times that Randall was inconsistent. Very many times that Cat has been inconsistent. He's not going to have that inconsistency with Giannis. He's going to be able to fully trust that he can take that number 2 step, and he's going to see the benefits of it. Like, he's already a starter for the East when he doesn't really have someone that makes him better as a player. But now you have Giannis that is going to draw a lot of the defensive pressure. We talk about, they can throw height at him. Why? Because there's no one else that they have to focus on scoring that way. But you think that they're going to send out 2 of their, wings to guard Jalen Brunson when Giannis is there? Like, no, those wings are going to be on Giannis. They're going to be trying to stop Giannis, which means free buckets from 3 for Jalen Brunson, or cutting Jalen Brunson to be able to have an easier drive to the basket. Like, it's an easier drive to the basket. He doesn't have to get beat up every single time he drives now because they know that there's other offensive threats alongside of him. So I think this makes Jalen Brunson a better player and makes him more lethal from everywhere else around the court, especially from 3. Because you take that Giannis drive in, every single team, including us, will send 2 or 3 defenders to clamp that paint. And as soon as he sees Jalen Brunson, he dishes it out for the easy 3. So I think that, it makes him better. And he's going to be probably one of the best number 2s you've ever seen in the league.
Yeah, I don't see much fall off for Jalen Brunson, even with this trade. One thing we've seen with number 1 and number 2s, we've seen number 2s who don't want to be number 2s. And I don't think that's the problem with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, when Cat came in, Jalen Brunson, his primary thought, let's get Cat comfortable. Let's give Cat what he wants. Mikal came on. Mikal shot horribly. Let's get Mikal his shots. Let's make sure he's comfortable. I think a pairing of Giannis and Brunson would be great. I think Giannis has had other good players. They try to put him and Lillard together. Lillard was number 2. He said he wanted to be number 2. Lillard didn't want to be number 2 when he got there. And it bumped heads. And I don't think I don't think that's gonna be an issue with Brunson and Giannis.
I think one of the benefits that we have to Cat, because I don't want to come just to get on here and bash him, even though I feel like we need to move on from him, is his salary, as big as it is, it matches Giannis almost dollar for dollar. So it's not like we have to aggregate a whole bunch of players, right? People in the chat are like, how are we going to win a chip if we lose 7 guys, 8 guys? We're not losing that many. Giannis would be the salary satisfier in the CBA, where we are in second apron for Giannis. Then Bridges and an aggregation of a Yabu, as Fritz and I went through on his NBA autonomy show. Check that out. He'll drop that in the chat. The combination of Gerson Yabusele, Pacome, and Kolek, that can get you the Holiday, right? And then, yes, you will have to fill out some additional contracts. You might even have to throw in a Clarkson. Then you have to start signing Dylan Jones or Deuce Dink Pate or someone to a full NBA deal. But in that discussion I just named, you still have Landry Shamet, Mitchell Robinson. You still have Deuce and Bride. You still have Josh Hart. You still have OG Anunoby. Most importantly, you still have Jalen Brunson. Right now, Mike Brown's playing an 8-man rotation. We are not an 11-guy deep team. Okay, we're still third in the East with an 8-man rotation. We could win a chip with the 8-man rotation I just named, where the bench becomes Hart and Mitch and Shamet. And if it's possible, if 3 teams are expanded, you could then, if you want to put a sweetener to it, swap out Clarkson for one of those minimum deals that Butts have. Maybe Gary Trent Jr. becomes a Knick. Maybe Taurean Prince becomes a Knick. And you send Clarkson in either Portland or Milwaukee. Guys, this is not Steve Mills running the room. This is Leon Rose and the cap god, Brock Aller, running the conversation. The reason Leon's first hire was Brock Aller was to make sure the Knicks have the advantage and leverage in any conversation involving the ensuing new CBA. That was the first move he made. Why? Foresight, which is why I have faith that Leon Rose is not going to solidify or rectify, but maximize his legacy here in New York by acquiring the Greek Freak. We got 600 people in the chat. Yo, give us a like and a subscribe if you're enjoying the content. As I have said multiple times, we got a personality for everybody. If you hate my ass, that's okay. We got Be the Motivator. We got Ebony. We got Ryan G. We got Jay Ellis. We got Phil. We got Fritz. We got Guard Up. We got Al from Harlem. We got somebody for everybody. We like the X-Men in here. I just happen to be, I might be the Wolverine. I might be the Gambit. Some people love me. Some people hate me. I'm okay with that because even though I'm here, we got 600 people in the chat enjoying the conversation on a very breezy Wednesday afternoon. Today is also comic book day. Make sure you go up to your local comic book store and support the great entrepreneurship business. Get you something to read because most adults right now are reading at a 4th, 5th grade level, and nothing's better than having some pictures to help you fill in the blanks on the story and get you on the path of literacy. Because listen, this country needs literacy more than ever if you look outside your door or your window. New York Knicks are actively interested in proposing an aggressive trade proposal for Giannis Antetokounmpo, with Leon Rose leading negotiations and a potential reunion of Jrue Holiday and Giannis Antetokounmpo, reunited from their championship butt stint in New York to pair with Jalen Brunson. This has been confirmed to be a potential happening, or the interest is confirmed by both Shams Charania and the GOAT, shout out Ian Begley. All have confirmed today the Knicks will be submitting an aggressive, not soft, not minor, not feelers, aggressive trade proposal, which this is not the first time the front office all of a sudden said, Eureka, we need a trade for Giannis. I think this has a reason why Cat and Mikal Bridges have looked a little out of it. This is the reason I think sometimes Deuce Bride has been a little inconsistent with his shot. I think this is why some of the guys have been taken out of the rotation, because we were both promoting and showcasing ancillary pieces in potentially Shamet, or saving them in Clarkson, Yabusele playing, and also saying Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges, we need to showcase you, and these guys are now playing not to be traded, not to be included in a Giannis deal, while simultaneously upping their stock to be a part of a Giannis deal. Leon wins either way, and more importantly, the fan base wins either way.
Yep. And to the people that are like, why are we talking about this? Let's not talk about it. I rarely talk about something like this if I see it on Twitter and it's just someone that like it is worth listening to, but not guaranteed. But when Ian Begley puts the words, the Knicks will aggressively, Ian Begley does not throw something out there to taint his name if it's not been talked about in actuality. Like if it's not a realistic possibility of what the Knicks are doing. So when it comes from Ian's mouth, you better believe that I'm going to talk about it because there's a very good possibility that we might see something happen. And so the one thing I'll say that is always like, dang, when conversations like this start happening and you start seeing, dude, you can't win chips with that bench. All right, whatever. Get out of here. I've seen worse benches walk away with chips. So I'm not going there.
Denver?
Yeah, like, come on,
Please.
let's stop. But when I start seeing the aggressive talks and stuff, and then I start seeing players that are all of a sudden questionable for this game or that game, your mind starts to go, your mind starts to question, like McBride not playing tonight. You go, wait, what happened to McBride? I thought he was fine. Like he looked good.
Injury management,
like
which is not real.
Those kind of posts start worrying the crap out of me. But one thing that I will say is this is actually, if you look at the scenario, this is so in our favor, the situation with Giannis. What can keep a team from holding too much knick-knacks? Oh, your player is suffering an injury right now that could lead to a not just season ending, but career ending bigger injury. That works in our favor. Whether it's to that level or not, Giannis is milking that situation. I can't play anymore for the rest of the year. Like he's out there in media saying, nope, I can't play, the injury, like that gives us some kind of leverage, to be able to say, hey, you want a player that's going to be there long-term, that's already a star. You guys just bought into Miles Turner. You're not trying to completely start fresh. You showed that over the summer. We can give you Cat, who is an all-star caliber player, and we'll take your injured player. And so I think that works. And to be honest, it's always seemed like Cat wants to be a number one, since his days in Minnesota, like before Ant to after Ant, I think Cat has always wanted to be a number one. And so he gets what he wants to in going to Milwaukee and being their number one. So I think it works out. I think it works out for everybody.
And he's soon to be an expiring contract as well. If they decide they don't want to commit to him long term, they could trade him for an even worse deal that satisfies a minimum CBA to have a certain amount of salary on the contract while flipping him for picks because he's an expiring deal down the line as well. And since we're on the financials, let's talk about my main man, Phil Alcindor. Bring in from the money perspective. What is the logical, likely scenario where we can acquire Giannis? What would it take? Who has to go out? And what are some of your predictions on how all of this would play out if the Knicks actually got him?
Okay. One of the things the Knicks don't want to do is they don't want to be in the position where Milwaukee was a year or two ago, where you're right up against the second apron. You don't have any picks, and basically you're bringing in minimums every year. So the one player who I think absolutely needs to go out, even if he doesn't go out in this trade, is Mikal Bridges. If Giannis is a New York Knick, I can pretty much guarantee you Mikal Bridges isn't a New York Knicks, even if he isn't in that trade.
Why?
Because his paycheck goes up $9.9 million next year. He's eating up a lot of cap, and we're right up against the second apron. We don't mind going over the second apron if it's a team, if it's a team we love. But I don't think they want that kind of pressure with Giannis. I think when a team has players on its roster that aren't worth their paycheck, that's when your team starts dying, and that's when you lose options. And one thing Leon has really liked is versatility. He's liked options, and once you get Mikal on a paycheck that he's not worth it, then you're losing options.
And I think we would probably all agree that this current extension that's about to kick in from Mikal Bridges makes him not worth it, in my opinion. The deal he's on right now, around 25 million, is a steal. But that $10-15 million bump that we're about to see for the amount of passiveness that he is attacking the rim, the lack of consistent 3-point shooting, the up and down point of attack defense, the up and down string navigation, to me, he's not worth that contract, and we have to move it. And if we're going to move it, it makes sense to move for someone that Giannis not only trusts, but knows he can win with in Jrue Holiday. It's proven only less than 4 years ago. He did it. So that's, to me, I agree with you. I think Mikal Bridges is absolutely out. I also think Karl-Anthony Towns is out. I think both of them are out. I think there's going to be a situation where that third team supplies us with our third or fourth option. Like Giannis comes to New York, and then whether New Orleans or Portland, whoever else it is that we deal with, is going to give us a piece, probably a veteran piece that comes back and satisfies us in that third piece. Is there anything else, Fritz, that you think financially New York Knicks should be on the lookout for when thinking about or talking about this potential deal?
Okay. Not bringing in players who need an extension is probably something the Knicks won't be doing. So like the Keon Ellis's of the world, or Ben Matherin's names, like people who need big extensions. I don't think that's going to happen at this point. If this summer they change their mind, fine. But I think at this point, I don't think you're bringing in someone like that.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. So let's say, because, we were talking about how pretty much Giannis and Kat are pretty much 1-for-1 value-wise, contract-wise. So if we do that and they want us to include somebody and we take someone from their bench or whatever, and that happens, and then we do the Mikal trade for Jrue Holiday. What's Jrue Holiday's numbers comparatively to Mikal's?
It almost matches dollar for dollar the extension. Okay. But right now, you would have to aggregate like Yabusele and two of our very small minimum deals between Clarkson, Kolek, and Patom Dadier. Is that correct, Fritz?
Yeah. So right now, if Mikal had to go out, most likely you're giving up more players than you're bringing in. So right now, you would probably have to sign someone from the G League, or you can wait. Or you can kind of wait till after the trade deadline. There's going to be players cut from certain teams that you can sign for minimums.
Yes, they will.
So there could be teams who signed up for championship runs on teams that aren't going to be buying for a championship, and they said, "Hey, I want out," and "Hey, New York is going for a championship. I want to be on that team."
Well said, Fritz. And again, I want to thank you for bringing your expertise on the financial capacity, giving the things that are kind of like uncomfortable to talk about, because it involves having to incorporate certain players into the deal as like must be included. Knicks fans don't always have to have it. They just want to talk about in generalities. We're getting Giannis. I think that you bring a very important part to the conversation, and you're well skilled and well versed in that as well. So happy to have you during this conversation. So it's not just me yelling into the mic with my hyperbolic hot takes. Gentlemen, any closing notes before we get out of here? Shout out to the almost 700 people in the chat watching right now live and direct on the KOT Family Show.
Yeah. The only thing I'll close with is like, stop comparing this to the Melo trade. Like that's what I want to say to fans, that even in the chat right now, like, oh, Giannis's Melo 2.0 trade. It's not. Lee made it very clear. And if you missed it early in the show, we have a champion style DNA player already in Jalen Brunson. Like, we have championship pieces around Jalen Brunson, such as OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, and Landry Shamet. Like, we have even the vets that you would want. Like, Landry Shamet is the kind of vet you want on your team if you're going for a championship like run. So we have all those pieces. So it is nothing like a Carmelo where we gave up everything and said this one player can take us to the promised land. Like, we don't need this one player, but this player will guarantee that this is our year to compete for it. We don't want to wait numerous years down the road. And so that is the only thing I'd say, is stop comparing it, because it's not the same as well. And then about tonight, You know, I want to see us win, but I also want to say, as bad as this is, there are some games, like even last night, as I'm dying for us to get a win because I'm a Knick fan, I'm also like, man, this loss would get Cat out the door that much quicker. Like, so when they would go on runs, I'd still have a little bit of a smirk, like, hey, this could speed up the trade. But it is what it is. So hopefully we get the win tonight. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Cat's gonna eventually. He needs a break. I think he'll eventually regain what he's had. But as bad as people are talking about Cat, this weekend he's gonna be named an All-Star. As bad as some people were talking about Cat, he's gonna be named an All-Star this weekend. And for those people saying, "Oh no, Cat isn't a good player. Why would Milwaukee want him?" He's gonna be named an All-Star, and that's something outside of Giannis they don't have. And out of the teams that are offering players, none of them are offering All-Stars.
Yeah,
like that's so if we're offering an All-Star, we have something that other teams don't have.
That's a good point.
To your point, I'll end with this. When we're critiquing Cat, we're not critiquing him as a bum of a basketball player. Like, to whom much is given, much is required. So we're judging him based on a $50+ million a year contract. Like, he's not meeting that standard of a $53 million player for the New York Knicks. Is he still competing at an all-star level? Yes. Is he still a good basketball player? Yes. But there's a difference. For a team that's trying to win a chip, they're wanting him to be that $53 million player, because we can't make other moves with him on the roster to try and get us to be that, because he's not being that. So there's levels of difference. No one's critiquing him and saying he's a bum, just like we didn't critique Julius Randle and say he was a bum. We were just saying, for the standard of what they were brought in to do, they are not meeting that level. So there's a difference.
Well said. Yeah, my final take is, Leon, make it happen, brother. Your legacy's on the line. The perception of how you were viewed henceforth is on the line. And Knicks fans, this is what you were brought here to do. You weren't brought here to sign Ersan Yabusele. You weren't signed here to trade Cam Reddish for Josh Hart. You weren't brought here to fail on the Kemba Walker or Evan Fournier acquisitions. You also weren't brought here to draft Yusuf Bride or Obi Toppin or Quentin Grimes or Muhammad Diawara. You were brought here to bring in a star. So far, you got us one. Now get us two. Because every team needs at least two guys and to be depended upon to get big shots, not just in one game, but for entirety of the series, the entirety of the championship run. And that second guy, to me, is not Karl-Anthony Towns. It is not Mikal Bridges. So we need to upgrade. That is not a knock or a hate on those guys. We need to upgrade because this team is currently constructed is too compromised defensively at the two most important positions for defense, the 1 and the 5. So fix it by bringing in a top 3 defensive player in the NBA, a champion, and a guy who won Finals MVP in Giannis. Make it happen, brother. Give Brunson, your godson, the greatest gift he possibly could by letting him win his championship. Because even with Giannis on the roster, there's still a possibility that he could win Finals MVP because of the clutch element that he hits in end of game. So I'm all for it. We need an upgrade. I'm not going to have any episodes like this about going and get some mid-tier player, John Morant rumors, or anything like that. This is only about the players that really matter, that really tip the scales. And Giannis is a cream of the crop. So that's why we're here tonight, and we appreciate all 700 of you that are here watching on YouTube and Twitter. Make sure if you are on social media and you like the content and you want more of it, to follow us on YouTube, subscribe, and give us a like. We will be live after every single game here at KOT, breaking it down, not just analysis, but X's and O's breakdown. We got smart people across the board who can analyze a game and come from different perspectives. Also, make sure you like and subscribe and watch the Knick Nightcap. Coming out what day, Phil?
Tomorrow night.
What time?
Tomorrow night, 8 p.m.
Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Make sure you tune in to the Knicks Nightcap. Make sure you tune in tonight around 9 p.m. Eastern time for the post-game analysis on the Time Show. And make sure you subscribe to the NBA Economy Show hosted by Fritz Alexander, who's been going live 2, sometimes 3 times a day, giving you Knicks fans everything you need because we know you a thirsty bunch I am too, brother. I'm parched because that desert of a championship drought, man, you get thirsty in that MFer. And here we are trying to quench our thirst with conversations around maybe getting Giannis Antetokounmpo. And we love you. We appreciate you, and we appreciate the support. Make sure you follow the KOT Show on Twitter at the KOT Show. The legendary Jay Ellis, who founded and runs this channel. I am here just filling in as speaker. You can find me on Twitter at _Lee Escobedo, LeeEscobedo. Please give me a follow. I'm also a reporter and a writer. I manage a KOT Substack, and I'm a writer for The Guardian, The Bleacher Report, and Yardbarkers. If you like my analysis, you can find my work on my Twitter show. Phil, Fritz, let them know where you can find you before we sign off.
Fritz handles on Twitter. Also, you can find me on YouTube, NBA Economy Show. Yesterday, went live for a good hour and a half with Lee. We were breaking down like scenarios. We broke down popular scenarios that we've seen some of the popular people on Twitter have, plus a few of our own scenarios. So please check that out. Please subscribe to the Knick of Time Show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So for me, it's just all channels are Knicks _nightcap. I'm not on any other YouTube for Knicks content except for this one. And like Lee said, you can join me tomorrow night at 8 p.m. where we will be talking Knicks, me, my co-host Apollo, my panel, Al from Harlem, we will be enjoying some whiskey. So if you're a whiskey drinker, join us. If not, pour some water, pour some coffee if you're a late night warrior, and come rock with us from 8 to probably around 10:30ish. Most nights on Wednesday or Thursday, depending when the game is. So we don't like talking when there's a game because no one's going to be there. So if it's an off night on a Wednesday or Thursday, this is where you can find us.
Round of applause. Welcome Al from Harlem to the Knick of Time family who recently joined Knicks Nightcap. I'm so happy to have you join the KOT family along with our brothers Phil and Guard Up Knicks, my main man Apollo. Be blessed, beloved. Protect each other out here in these tough times. And always remember that you have a family here on KOT. You're welcome no matter where you come from or what your background is. You're always welcome on KOT Show. And also remember, as my main brother Jay Ellis always says, it's a mess out here in these New York Knicks Twitter streets. Shout out to Worldwide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess. That's the show. Much love. Like and subscribe. And we will see you post-game tonight.